Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare हरि बोल हरि बोल थोड़ा साउंड दीजिए कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे बोलिए हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning. Welcome class and hopefully attentive japa. And thank you very much. We'll make a start right now. We're talking about Brahmaji and Narayan meeting. We were talking about that for the last couple of weeks. Excuse me. Now, remember that Lord Brahma, he was praying 25 verses. He was praying to Lord Narayan to appear and instruct him how to go about creating the universe. And then Lord Narayan appeared and instructed him. And after instructing Lord Brahma to expand the creation, the primal Lord Narayan disappeared. And he said that before he left, he says, as you have done on previous days, generate progeny who are obedient and devoted to me. You can create them from your own body and mind. So Lord Brahma didn't need anybody to help him create progeny. He could do it automatically from his body and mind. He was empowered to do that. Now, thing is, it says here, generate progeny who are obedient and devoted to Lord Narayan. But we find that they weren't necessarily all obedient, and they might not necessarily have been all devoted either. One or the other or both. And then there were some who were obedient and devoted, but you had individual souls, and they all behave differently. There is no guarantees from what we'll find. Now, this is been explained by Maitreya Muni to Shri Vidur. So Shri Vidur said, "Oh great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So we'll discuss that now. Let's do a quick prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Namyate Girim Yat Kirpata Mohamande Shri Guru Deen Taranam Pramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tassat Narayan Namskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyat Nashta Presha Vadareshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nistiki. Hare Krishna. So first of all, we'll talk about that's all we can talk about actually, the secondary creation, because the primary creation is done by Lord Narayan himself. He gives all the ingredients and everything to Brahma, who is the engineer to do the secondary creation. So he's got everything is provided to him, the Mahdatwa. Now he just has to design in his own way. So the greatly learned sage Maitreya said, "O Vidur, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years, as advised by the personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord." That Brahma engaged himself for the personality of Godhead, Narayan, means that he engaged himself in the service of the Lord. That is the highest penance one can perform for any number of years. There is no retirement from such service, which is eternal and ever encouraging. So as Brahmaji goes into meditation and penance, he gets all the knowledge, and everything's created by that. Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong, violent wind. The material world is called illusory because it is a place of forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. Thus, one engaged in the Lord's devotion service in the material world may sometimes be very much disturbed by awkward circumstances. So Lord Brahma sitting on the lotus, and there's a lot of disturbance. So Prabhupada is comparing that sometimes we get a lot of disturbance in our lives as well, and awkward circumstances, they disturb us. There is a declaration of war between the two parties, the illusory energy and the devotee. And sometimes the weak devotees fall victim to the onslaught of the powerful illusory energy. So this is what we were discussing last week. Rukmini Mataji asking that we are spirit souls. We are part of Krishna. We are just like Krishna. Then how come we are still getting illusioned? Well, it says here that the material, we are not that strong as Krishna. We are weak. Sometimes the weak devotees, a lot of us are weak, and we fall victim to the powerful illusion. The illusory energy of the Lord is stronger than us. This is the thing, which is also part of Krishna. We are part of Krishna, so is the illusory energy, but the illusory energy is stronger. So what do? We need help of Krishna to save us from this illusory energy, because we're not that strong ourselves to be able to fight this illusory energy. We need support. But it says here, Lord Brahma, however, was sufficiently strong by the causeless mercy of the Lord. So he wasn't strong by himself. He was strong because he had the mercy of the Lord. And he could not be victimized by the material energy, although it gave him cause for anxiety when he managed to totter the existence of his position. So he's been shaken off the lotus. Long penances and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water. Lord Brahma's struggle for existence is a personal example of the continued fight between the living entities in the material world and the illusory energy called Maya. So we are in a similar situation like that, although we can't drink the wind and the water, but we have a small problem which are very big for us. Beginning from Brahma down to this age, the living entities are struggling with the forces of material nature. By advanced knowledge in science and transcendental realization, one can try to control the material energy, which works against our endeavors. And in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penance have played very wonderful roles in controlling the powers of the material energy. Such control of the material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul centered on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving transcendental service. So although the scientists can control this material energy, the wind, the fire, etc., but the best way to control for us is by the loving transcendental service of the Lord. Thereafter, he saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets which were previously merged in that very same lotus. The seeds of the planets, so the planets were all in the size of seeds in the universe, were impregnated in the lotus on which Brahma was situated. All the planets were already generated by the Lord, and all the living entities were also born in Brahma. The material world and the living entities were all already generated in seedling forms by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma was to disseminate the same seedlings all over the universe. The real creation is therefore called Sarga, And what Brahmaji is doing is called Visarga, secondary creation. So thus engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the portal of the lotus. And as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of the worlds and later into 14 divisions. So we have 14 planetary systems in this universe. And the 3 divisions are the upper, middle, and the lower planets. So Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his causeless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitation by the different types of living entities, because we have different desires, different karma, different qualities. So the 14 planetary divisions are created according to our suitability. The Supreme Lord is the reservoir of all the qualities of the living entities. The conditioned souls in the material world reflect only part of those qualities, and therefore they are sometimes called pratibimbas. These pratibimba, living entities, as parts and parts of the Supreme Lord, have inherited different proportions of his original qualities. Krishna is unlimited. We have very limited qualities, and even those in very small proportions. So, and in terms of the inheritance of these qualities, they appear as different species of life and are accommodated in different planets according to the plan of Brahma. So everybody, everybody is part of that big plan. Things don't happen whimsically. Everybody is part of the plan, and everybody is given the residence according to their qualities and desires. Excuse me. Brahma is the creator of the 3 worlds, namely the lower planets called the Patal Loks, the middle planets called the Bhur Loks, and the upper planets called the Swar Loks. Still higher planets such as Maharlok, Tapalok, Satyalok, and Brahmalok don't dissolve in the devastating water. This is because of the causeless devotional service rendered unto the Lord by the inhabitants, whose existence continues up to the end of the Prarabdha time, when they are generally liberated from the chain of birth and death in the material world. So when there's temporary devastation, the top planets don't get destroyed. Mainly the middle and the lower planets get destroyed. And then, so this is how the planetary system is created. And we have 3 systems, 14 divisions. And then we do inquiring about time. So how does time fit into all this? So, I mean, we can see, we might wonder, why are we talking about the creation and everything, but this actually shows us how we fit into all this, because we are jumping from one planetary division to other. We could end up on a lower planetary division in the hellish planets, or we could go into the higher planets, Swarglok and even Brahmlok, depending on our qualities and desires and our achievements. Sometimes we go up into the higher planet and then work our way up to, as we see in many pastimes of many kings, they go to the higher planets and then they make their way to Krishna Lok. Excuse me. So Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord." So Krishna is time himself, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. So the complete universe is a manifestation of varieties of entities, which we have discussed, beginning from the atoms up to the gigantic universe itself. And all is under the control of the Supreme Lord in his form of Kal, or eternal time. The controlling time has different dimensions in relation to particular physical embodiments. There's a time for atomic dissolution, and a time for the universal dissolution, and there is time for the annihilation of the body of the human being. So we might live for 100 years, the universe will live for Brahmaji's 100 years, and the atoms might be very minute amount of time of life. So everything has its own designation and time period. And also growth, development, and resultant actions all depend on the time factor. We do want you to know in detail the different physical manifestations and the times of inhalation. So Maitri said, eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. The impersonal time factor is the background of the material manifestation as the instrument of the Supreme Lord. It is the ingredient of assistance offered to material nature. No one knows where time began and where it ends. And it is time only which can keep a record of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material manifestation. So this shows us that things not just happening by themselves. Everything is controlled, whether it's 1 minute or it's an hour or it's a day or a year or Brahmaji's lifetime or beginning of creation, sustaining creation, dissolving of creation. Everything has a time period. Everything is controlled by time. So Krishna has everything. There's a hand in everything. Things not just happening by fluke. It's not a fluke of nature, as some people believe. Everything's controlled, and that control factor is time, which is Krishna himself. So this time factor is the material cause of creation and is therefore self-expansion of the personality of Godhead. And I think if I remember correctly, when those Mahabharata TV programs used to come, back in the 90s, and it was always like the time chakra used to be speaking at the beginning, because the time, Krishna as time is everywhere and he sees everything. And so that the time chakra was seeing, and he knew what's going to happen and he remembers the past, present, and future, knows everything. This cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past and will continue in the same way in the future. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there is a systematic schedule for the perpetual manifestation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world. So it is all controlled by time. And it's also stated in Bhagavad-Gita. It says, Bhuta Gramam Imam Krishnam Avasham Prakrite Vashat. As it is created now and as it will be destroyed later on, so also it exists in the past and again will be created, maintained, and destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, the systematic activities of the time factor are perpetual and eternal and cannot be stated to be false. So sometimes we say this material world is false. It is not false, it's temporary, but it's not false, it's controlled by a time factor. The manifestation is temporary and occasional, but it is not false as claimed by the Mayavadi philosophers. So there are 9 types of creations, it's mentioned here, or 9 natural creations. There are 9 different kinds of creations besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interactions of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilation due to eternal time, the material elements, and the quality of one's work. The scheduled creations and annihilation take place in terms of the supreme will. There are other creations due to interactions of material elements which take place by the intelligence of Brahma. The 3 kinds of annihilations are due to scheduled time of annihilation of the entire universe, so either the whole universe gets destroyed after Brahmaji's lifetime, or there's temporary annihilation due to a fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta, which we have discussed before. And the third annihilation is due to one's qualitative actions and reactions, our small lives that we live. So our lives destroyed, we die within a lifetime, or we die in the temporary devastation of the universe, or we die when Brahmaji dies. 3 types of death. Of the 9 creations, the first one is the creation of the Mahdatwa, or the sum total of the material ingredients, wherein the modes interact due to the presence of the Supreme Lord. That's the first. In the second, the false ego is generated, in which the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities arise. The first emanation from the Supreme Lord for the material creation is called the Mahdatwa. So Prabhupada explaining the interaction of the material modes is the cause of false identification, which is the second, the false ego. This false ego is the cause of identifying the body and mind with the soul proper, and material resources and the capacity and knowledge to work are all generated in the second term of creation after the Mahdatwa. Gyan indicates the senses which are sources of knowledge and their controlling deities, and work entails the working organs and their controlling deities. All these are generated in the second creation. The sense perceptions are created in the third creation. So this is the step by step, and from these the elements are generated. Then the fourth creation is the creation of knowledge and of working capacity. And the fifth creation is that of controlling deities by the interaction of the modes of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of living entity, which the master acts as a fool. The demigods in the higher planets are called devas. So Prabhupada is explaining this. The demigods in the higher planets are called devas because they're all devotees of Lord Vishnu. And all the devotees of Lord Vishnu are devas or demigods, whereas all others are asuras. That is the division of devas and the asuras. Devas are situated in the mode of goodness of the material nature, whereas the asuras are situated in the mode of passion or ignorance. The demigods or controlling deities are entrusted with department management of all the different functions of the material world. For example, one of our sense organs, the eye, is controlled by light. Light is distributed by the sun rays, and the controlling deity is the sun. Similarly, the mind is controlled by the moon, and all of the senses, both for working and for acquiring knowledge, are controlled by the different demigods. The demigods are assistances of the Lord in the management of material affairs. So this is the fifth creation, the gods that help us to see, taste, speak, smell. There's a god of everything. I think that's why we have 30 crore devtas, 330 million, if I'm correct. And there is a devta for everything. You know, we don't have much control of everything. The devtas controlling everything. We just desire to speak, and material nature or the devtas help us to speak. All the above are natural creations by the external energy of the Lord. Now hear from me about the creations by Brahma, who is an incarnation of the mode of passion and who, in the matter of creation, has a brain like that of the personality of God. So Brahma's this contribution. The seventh creation is that of the immovable entities, which are of the 6 kinds. So up to now, the sixth were, these are all the things that are given by Lord Narayan before he disappeared. You know, all these things, false ego, the Mahdatwa, the devas, everything is created by the Lord. It's given to Brahmaji to work with. And then the seventh creation is that of the, now this is Brahmaji's contribution now, what he does. The seventh creation is that of the immovable entities, which are of 6 kinds. The fruit, trees without flowers, trees and plants which exist until the fruit is ripe, creepers, pipe plants, creepers which have no sport, and trees with flowers and fruits. So Lord, he's the engineer, he creates all this, he's given all the ingredients and everything. So he creates this. This is the seventh creation. The the entities that don't move, like trees, for example, right? So different types of trees and creepers are mentioned here. All the immovable trees and plants seek their subsistence upwards. They are almost unconscious, but have feelings of pain within. They are manifested in variegatedness. So this is all the trees and plants. Then the eighth creation is that of the lower species of life, and they are of different varieties, numbering 28. So we had 6 kinds of plants and trees. Now we have 28 types of lower entities. They are extensively foolish and ignorant. They know their desirables by smell, but are unable to remember anything within the heart. So everything is, they have to smell everything to see whether they like it or not, or is it eatable or not. Their knowledge is concerned only with eating and sleeping. Therefore, even the most ferocious lower animals, such as tigers, can be tamed simply by regularly supplying meals and accommodation for sleeping. So these are the only things that, this is how they train them in circus. They only need, animals, he says here, they only need 2 things, food and sleep. If you give them that, then you become their masters. Only snakes cannot be tamed by such an arrangement, although there's always an exception, and the exception is the snakes. They cannot be tamed by such an arrangement, but we still see that human beings find a way to control them as well. O purest Vidur, of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna stag, hog, Gavya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have cloven hooves. The horse, mule, ass, Gaura, Sharab, bison, and wild cow all have 1 hoof. Now you may hear from me about the animals who have 5 nails. The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, and gusap, etc. all have 5 nails in their claws, and they are known as panchanakhas, or animals having 5 nails. This is all designed by Lord Brahma. The heron, vulture, crane, hawk, bass, baluka, peacock, swan, saras, chakarva, crow, owl, and others are the birds. The creation of the human beings who are of one species only and who stock their eatables in the belly is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. Oh, good Vidur, these last 3 creations of the creation of demigods, the 10th creation, are Vaikrita creations, which are different from the 6 previously described. Natural creation, Prakirta creations, the appearance of the Kumaras is both. So the creation of the demigod is of the 8 varieties. So just quickly told here that the demigods come in 8 varieties. The demigods, the forefathers, the asurs or demons, the Gandharvas and Apsaras or the angels, the Yakshas and the Rakshas, the Siddhas, Charanas and Vidyadharas, the Bhutas, Pretas and Pishachas, and the superhuman beings, celestial singers, all are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe. So he's the engineer. So Lord Narayan gave Brahmaji everything to work with, and so everything we see around us or we hear about, then is created by Lord Brahma. And next week we can discuss how these things came about the Kamaras and other entities that are created. We can discuss that from next week, but it's very interesting that who controls what. I mean, as you can see, Lord Narayan provides everything, and then Brahmaji, he has given that empowerment to from a certain level that he can manipulate those materials and design, come up with his own designs and present them to the Lord. And we find that in our lives as well. I mean, I've seen like bank bandages, for example, they have they can say work up to like £500,000. They're given that much authority, and then senior manager might be given £1 million authority, and then you want anything higher, then you have to go to a higher authority. Same here, that Brahmaji has so much authority to do things, and then anything higher than that is in the hands of the Lord himself. So thank you all so much for joining this morning. My father-in-law is here, Harini Mataji, Rukmini Mataji, Jai Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, Parveen Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu, and Sarveshriya Mataji. And so nice to see that nobody has got listening only this morning, although you might be listening only, but we'll make a start. I don't know if Harini Mataji is able to speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Yes, I'm able to speak this morning. No meetings. Thank you thank you so much for the class, Prabhuji. It was amazing to listen to how organization is embedded everywhere, starting from the beginning. It just made me realize how little we are. You know, we always think, oh, I own this, I've done this report, or I have done this at home, I cooked this meal. Actually, nothing is in our control, and you know, everything is in the Lord's control, and there are so many divine forms around us which we don't even realize. So thank you so much for making us reflect this morning. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Right, thank you. Very nicely explained. Thank you so much, Mataji. Jai Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes, Vidura wanted to know how the bodies of living entities were created from, after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as we discussed in previous weeks, Brahma engaged himself, in penance for 100 celestial years and performed devotional service to gain the practical knowledge of creation. So I think there's 3 subtopics to this chapter. Like first, you have the creation of the planets. Then we talk about eternal time, and then there's the stages of creation. So I'll just pick out a few points from each. So Brahma contemplated how he could create the planets. The seeds of all the planets had already been generated by the Lord and were impregnated into the lotus on which Brahma was situated. So the lotus spread all over the universe, and Brahma created 3 divisions of worlds, and later divided this into 14 planetary systems. So I think you mentioned the names of the 3, divisions. Pataloka, Bullloka, and Swaraloka. So yes, on time. So Brahma inquires about eternal time and the symptoms of eternal time. He wanted to know in detail about the different physical manifestations and their times of annihilation. So, as mentioned, the entire universe is a manifestation of varieties of entities, from the atom to the whole universe itself, and all are under the control of the Supreme Lord in the form of eternal time, or otherwise called Kala. So time is considered as being an impersonal feature, Lord. Time is described as being unchangeable and limitless. So time is the source of interactions of 3 modes of material nature. So when time is intermixed with activities, actions and reactions take place as a result of the material energy of the Lord. So creations, as you mentioned, there are 9 stages of creations. I'll skip the first 6 stages, which are natural. I think we've discussed those before, which are natural creations, right from the energy of the Lord. So where Brahma gets involved, I think is in the creation of the bodies of living entities. So the 7th creation is that of immovable entities, which are of 6 types of trees and plants. So trees and plants almost have no consciousness, So it says here, they do feel a bit of pain, so that's why it's offered, even vegetables are offered as prasadam first. So the eighth creation is that of lower species of life, which are of 28 different varieties. So they're all foolish and ignorant, that they know they're desirable only by the sense of smell, and are unable to remember anything in the heart. The only knowledge these lower animals have are of their hunger and thirst and their sleep needs. I think these 28 are divided into 4 groups, I think mainly by the type of foot they have, like one with split hoof, those with 1 hoof, and animals that have 5 claws, and then also we have birds. So, and it talks about human beings, which are the 9th creation. So in the human race, the mode of passion is prominent. Humans always think of themselves as being happy when they're actually miserable. So it's only in human life, is it possible? They have an advanced stage of consciousness for getting free from this existence of material miseries. But due to the ignorance, humans think their high consciousness is meant for advancing in material comforts. So they waste their intelligence, in animal propensities instead of using it for spiritual realization. I think then you discussed the demigods, of which there are 8 types. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. It's amazing that you do capture everything, so it's so nice. And to get that recap, it really helps me because then you put into better arrangement than I am just reading, but you put in nice arrangements, easy to remember then for me too. Okay, Rukmini Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Very, very amazing class. Beyond, I always say beyond our imagination. And I don't know how Brahma can handle all this very difficult task. Everything is in crore, 330 crore devatas is created by Lord. 6 higher entities, 48 lower entities. So naturally we are in 48 lower entities. Are we?
We're sorry, we are what?
Are we are the lower entities, no?
Yeah, then the devas, yes.
Oh, then the first 6 higher entities.
Yeah, I think this is the 6 types of devas was mentioned. Yeah.
And all designed by Brahma.
Yeah.
Very big responsibility. So there is nothing to say, anything. We can't even discuss. It's very, very super, Brahmaji. So I think that is enough.
Thank you, Adai. And we can see why he was so worried, because he had created before, but he wasn't sure how to go about this. But he also knew there is a very responsible job. He has to get things right. He can't afford to mess up, something like that. It's very important that it's spot on. And every living entity, there's like infinite living entities, and everybody has to be placed in the right place. Otherwise there be chaos. You give too much, you put the wrong people in the wrong places, then you can so it's very important that he gets it right, and Krishna within the heart helped him, obviously. Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Parveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam to everyone. Amazing class. So all there Prabhu is summarized very nicely, and I don't remember the order, but again, just the thing that came to my mind is, again, Ishavasya principle, like we've learned, everything is owned and controlled by the Lord. So like you said, everything is controlled by time, and Krishna himself says he is time, Kalos me. And the shloka that is coming to my mind is 4.34, Tadvidi Pranipaten Pariprashnen Sevya Updekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattva Darshana. So Brahmaji, he, did the penance for 100 celestial years. And so that's what we have to do. We have to render service to the Guru for self-realization and render service to the Guru. And then we can overcome the material energy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, I mean, this is what Brahma is doing, is rendering service to the Guru. Lots of penance. We have our own types of penance in the Kali Yuga, that we have penance and austerities that we are doing, following the 4 regulations, chanting, etc. We do all these things. That this is we are the little Brahma, at least a little reflection of Brahma, if not Brahma himself. So he has a huge responsibility. We have our responsibility that seem huge to us. So we are doing our bit, and if we do it nicely like Brahmaji did, then we got a very good chance of being recognized as a devotee and going back home to Godhead. Thank you so much, Mataji. Swashi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Well, most of the it's been discussed, most of the points. In previous yugas, people used to, I'll put it in different words, same thing, but it might be repetition. In previous yugas, people used to do penance or austerity to fill their good or bad desires. Because the people used to live longer, so they could do tapasya for a long time. In Kali Yuga, we can't do, so we do probably one day, twice Ekadashi and Janamasti, but we do tapasya in a very small proportion. And the Brahma, he did selfless tapasya to please the Lord Narayan and to follow his instruction. And same like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, they did also penance, but they were selfish. They wanted something for themselves. And Ravana, he done tapasya to Lord Shiva and Hiranyakashipu to Lord Brahma. Well, they wanted to destroy, to harm people. That's why they were very selfish.
Yeah.
And then once Narada Muni asked a question to Lord Brahma that who is the real creator? He knew, but he wanted everybody to hear from Brahma's mouth. So Brahma said, he's the second creator because he himself is created by Narayana. So he can't be creator. And then from Lord Krishna's bodily effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, everything is created. And he is the source of all creation and planets. Krishna creates 5 gross elements and Brahma put it together. So Krishna creates just like he makes it ready, and just Brahma does he put it all together. Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that I'm the source of all spiritual and material world, everything creates from me. And when the Brahma Jyoti is covered by Mahdatwa, then it becomes material. After 3 Vishnus created the universe, Brahma divided into 3 worlds, which has been discussed, Upper Swarg, Middle Prithvi, and the Lower Patal, and then into 14 divisions. In Hindi we call Chauda Bhuvan. And upper planet is Satlok. Satlok, Brahmalok is the same. And Janlok, Taplok, Maharlok, Swartlok, and then the lower planets Atal, Vital, Patal, Sital, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal. And so he made it for all these planets. And then it says time. Time is impersonal feature of Lord Krishna or Narayana. And it's temporary. It creates and destroys everything. Just like the demigods were created, human, animal, fruit, foods, and then they are created, but they don't last because they are temporary and they are destroyed. In this material world, nothing is eternal. Everything is temporary and annihilation. And we are created to fulfill our bad or good desires. People have so many desires. So Krishna or Lord will create you again to fulfill your desires. And when the humans are created, the Lord is so merciful that that he Hare Krishna, what's happening?
It's okay, Mother. Carry on.
So Lord Krishna is so merciful that when he creates human, he creates the Vedas, Brahma. He tells Brahma to create the Vedas and scriptures. So we can follow the instruction, and in that way we can go back to Godhead. Without the following the Vedas scriptures, we can't go back to Head. And then Brahma is the representative of Krishna. He's doing on behalf of Lord because he's the one, he's supreme, and he got other as a representative to do his work. So Brahma is one of the representatives to do what Krishna wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you so much. Prem Prakash Prabhu.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hey, it's an amazing creation, basically, how Brahmaji is creating and how descriptive it is given, how the entities are created. And all the time, scientists actually take the living entity out of it, saying that how the things are created. But what Brahmaji is creating at the moment is he's giving living entities a shape, a cast to live in. So what he's doing is that, considering an analogy, is that what he is doing, he is creating a sandcastle, and the entities as a sandman living around the sandcastle. But the sandcastle itself can't do anything, although the grades are created. So what actually in the Mahdatwa, what Lord Vishnu does, he gives a glance and then he impregnates the sandcastle and these living entities. And the moment Jiva enters into the sandcastles and the entities, they start moving. And how they move is the desire of the Jivas, basically. How the Jiva, what the Jiva desired in the previous terms, how they, although they are completely spiritual, but they have little minute independence. And this little minute independence is very dangerous because that can actually cause to enjoy independent of Krishna. And when the Jivas does that, they enter into, they actually given an opportunity by Krishna that, okay, you want to enjoy, then go to this sandcastle and then enjoy. So these Jivas enter into the Brahmaji's sandcastle, what he has created with the different grades, so much elaborate, and these sandcastle are so much elaborate. We call scientists, but we actually haven't regarded biology as a great science or technology until now, basically, when people have started dealing with the biology. So Brahma is a great biological scientist creating all those things and planetary. Name the scientist, and Brahmaji is that scientist basically creating all those things in very elaborate level. But that scientist still, that creation is still not inamnated. It's inamnated only by the jivas, which are the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The purpose of this creation is to make jivas realize that you are now here to see how you can enjoy without Krishna. And once you realize that still need Krishna, you can go back. And this is such an amazing by our true friend, our only true friend, Krishna. He comes along with us as a form of Paramatma. And we doesn't do anything. As a jiva, they don't do anything as jivatma. They desire. Most important thing that comes through is a desire. And that is it. and based on that, they have experiences. But the karma is not done by the jiva. How then it is done? That's an interesting question. Jiva desires, Krishna grants that, okay, you can do it. If Krishna doesn't will, that is never going to happen. That's something which is very important. Krishna, because the arrangement is that if we desire, then we will get it, and Krishna permits it. But Krishna doesn't permit like that. He actually gives that, okay, if you do that, you will get this reaction. If you do that, because this is a place of duality, you have actions and reactions. So the jivas, if they do that, they get this reaction. So it's law book of the nature that is already there. That's going to happen. Nobody is going to stop it. But it's minute independence of jiva that actually manifests into actions and the reactions. And how does it happen? Jiva desires, Krishna permits, and Devtas, the proprietor of the sense organs, they actually make it happen. It's just like a store. It's just like a big store of organs. So our store and proprietor is someone else. Although we actually lend these items from the different devtas. Our eyes is Nimi, and then like that there are different devtas is there, and mind is said that Supreme Personality of God himself, because he is actually doing it closest to that, because and the mind is master of all the other senses. But every action that we do is it initiate, it actually triggered by a desire permitted by Krishna, and then based on the permission of Krishna, these devtas make it manifest. And everything what get manifested and diluted is controlled by Krishna in the form of 25th element, that is time, in the creation. Someone says that 26th element is Paramatma himself. Some scholars say that 26th element is Paramatma himself. But that's still topic to discussion. But the thing is, like, based on time, because time is a thing when actually is glanced over Mahdatwa, or the creation, it gets agitated and the modes of material nature gets manifested. And more the time passes, the instance of time is there, and the desires of jiva is there. Based on desire, they actually come into being, and then they manifest and unmanifest themselves. So we also call that Prakriti, that is nature, is impermanent. Being in this field of impermanence, the things gets manifested and in this unmanifested. Important thing to understand is that the Prakriti itself is permanent. Prakriti isn't eternal. So how it actually is happening is that because in Bhagavatam it is written there, although the jivas and the manifestations are permanent and impermanent, but the Prakriti is still remains there as a form of pradhan, as a eternal thing, basically, that happens. It is an unmanifested state. So these things are really interesting and complicated, but this is small analogy that I wanted to have an understanding, got an understanding with some enlightened people and devotees like yourself and everyone else. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. Wonderful perspective. See a lot bigger picture by your contribution. So thank you so much. Okay. Well, I'm just going to say that, as Prabhuji mentioned, that although we saw that Narayan disappeared and then Brahmaji was left to create or design, but we find from the scriptures that Narayan actually, he entered, he's super soul in the heart, and he also enters every atom in the universe. He's everywhere, isn't it? His hand is everywhere. He enters every atom in the universe. So how amazing is that? He never leaves us. You know, he doesn't like come when he feels like it, and then he goes. He's always there in some form or other. He's always with us. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Just to quickly say that Sunday we got Amogh Leela Prabhu, is the Vice President of ISKCON Dwarka and a great preacher. So look forward to the Sunday program. And next week we'll talk about time, actually, this eternal time. We'll discuss that next week, and then other creations like Narada Muni and the 10 sons. We're going to discuss all them. So it's a wonderful topic. Thank you so much. I think we got maybe time just for one round. And let's ask Sureshi Mataji today, if you can just quickly do one round, please, and then finish the program. Thank you all so much. And thank you for your contribution and association. Hare Krishna. So Mataji will just do one round.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Picharine Nikrishi Sasuni Abadi Paschata Desatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar